Okay, thank you, Drew. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Today is Tuesday, February 7th, 2023. This is the first hearing of the month for the hearing officer for the city. My name's Vanessa McDonald. I'll be conducting the hearing this afternoon. And first, I want to say thank you so much to City of Tempe staff and the AV people for helping put this meeting together. I'm traveling for business unexpectedly, so I was unable to make it to the council chamber this afternoon. I need to read something into the record, and then we can go ahead and start our hearing. Can you hear me okay? And is there a delay in the
You sound
video?
great. I think we're good to go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The City of Tempe hearing officer is authorized by Arizona Revised Statutes and the City of Tempe Zoning and Development Code. The hearing officer has the duty to carry out the provisions and the intent of the Zoning and Development Code and the Tempe City Code. The hearing officer is granted the authority to conduct public hearings to decide upon the abatement of code violations occurring on properties within the city. These violations include, but aren't limited to, deteriorated landscaping, inoperable or unregistered vehicles, deteriorated structures, storage of junk or refuse, or deteriorated swimming pools. Abatement actions are brought before the hearing officer by the city's Code Compliance Division, typically after numerous attempts at contacting the property owner to obtain voluntary compliance with the code. The hearing officer may issue an order directing the owner, occupant, rental agent, property manager, or other responsible person to remediate a code violation or authorize the city to abate the property. The cost of the abatement is the responsibility of the owner of the property where the violation occurs and will be collected as a lien assessment against the property found to be in violation. On today's agenda, we have 5 items. We have a set of minutes from January 17th, 2023, and we also have 4 property abatements. Any property owner who is aggrieved by a decision of the hearing officer may file an appeal within 14 calendar days after the hearing officer has made a decision. The deadline for appealing any decision rendered today is 3 p.m. on February 21st, 2023. Appeals are heard by the Board of Adjustment, after which they also can be appealed to the Superior Court. A property owner has 14 calendar days to either file an appeal or bring the property into code compliance within this 14-day window. If neither of these things happen within the required time frame, then the property will be abated by the city. Joining me this afternoon, virtually, of course, from Community Development are Cassidy Hernandez and Drew Yoakum. Again, thank you guys for helping put this meeting together. As I mentioned before, we have 5 items. The first item on our agenda this afternoon is a set of minutes from the January 17th, 2022 hearing. 2023 hearing. I had a chance to review those minutes in the packet that I was given to help me prepare for this meeting, and I believe that they accurately reflect what took place at that hearing. So I'm going to go ahead and approve the minutes for January 17th, 2023. The next item on our agenda is agenda item number 2. This is a request for abatement of public nuisance items at the Bradford property. This property is located at 518 West 11th Street. The applicant is the City of Tempe Code Compliance Division, represented this afternoon, I believe, by Inspector Michelle Van Etten. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Hearing Officer, Madam Hearing Officer. Like you mentioned, my name is Michelle Van Etten. I'm a code inspector here with the City of Tempe Code Compliance Division. I'm here today to request a 180-day open abatement for the property, there you are, for the property located at 518 West 11th Street here in Tempe, 85281. I opened this case on August 25th of 2022 when I received a complaint about dead trees and deteriorated paint. I inspected the property. What I did find is that there were violations of tree debris in the front and rear yard, grass and weeds in the front yard, dirt landscape, tall grass and weeds in the rear yard, and trash and debris in the rear yard. I sent 2 different notices to the homeowner for these violations. The violations were never corrected, nor was I contacted. After going out on a 3rd time on September 22nd of 2022 and finding the violations had not been corrected, I issued a citation to the homeowner. That citation was never paid, nor was it contested. I've never been contacted by the homeowner. None of my notices have been returned except for the certified letter of the citation, and that just came back because it was unclaimed, and they did put a note on there vacant, and the property does appear to be vacant. I
Okay,
posted a copy of that citation and a copy of the final notice to the property itself. On November 3rd, 2022, when preparing to start the abatement process, I went back out and I noticed that because of the time lapse from the start of the case, the trees were now protruding into the street and sidewalk. So I addressed in yet another notice all of those previous violations and that violation so that it could be included in the abatement. I put a copy of that final notice that I just mentioned, which it was returned to me. Again, it said from the Postal Service, this time it said moved, no forwarding address. So I put a copy of that notice and then the notice of intent to abate on the front door on December 20th, 2022. I've double-checked, triple-checked with each notice, and even today, if there are any new addresses provided by the homeowner in the county assessor's page or the City of Tempe water billing system, it still shows that site address as the only address for the individual. So I went out this morning and took pictures and would like to show them to you now, if I may.
okay, thank you, please do.
So this is the front yard. There are tall grass and weeds, as you see. Some of these are wildflowers, but you just have some mustard weeds and just plain grass and weeds. It is usually a dirt landscape, which is now completely covered. In the driveway there, you do see the tree debris.
Sure.
I don't know who did it. I believe it was probably one of the neighbors that had contacted me. They were upset about the tree. They had told me that they were going to cut the tree. I did explain that was part of my upcoming abatement. Could be them, could have been the homeowner, I don't know. The trees were trimmed today, so that's a good thing.
Are those trimmings that I see on the ground?
Yes,
Underneath?
Madam Hearing Officer. They're not new, though. They've been there the whole time.
Okay,
That's just the driveway again, just showing the tree debris, and you can see it's on the roof as well. And then over that fence there is trash and debris scattered throughout the rear yard. That trash and debris has varied and moved, new trash, old trash. I feel that transients are going into the rear yard living,
Sure.
although I've never witnessed anybody there. Another picture of the rear yard, more trash and debris, dead grass, tree debris, tall grass and weeds throughout it. And then due to the angles that I had available to me, this is not the best picture, but I just wanted you to see the tree debris on the roof. It's hard to see, but there is an old recliner that's really in bad shape and some other piles of trash and debris there on the back patio as well.
and given the fact that the property is vacant, there's, no potential for those items to be personal property that are, going to be of use or value.
Absolutely, Madam Hearing Officer. And like I mentioned, the trash items have actually changed and moved and from time to time. So again,
Okay.
I'm requesting a 180-day open abatement to remedy these civil violations on the property.
Okay, thank you very much for the presentation, the thorough presentation. Mr. Yocum, is anyone here in the audience wanting to speak on this agenda item?
No, Madam Hearing Officer, not for this agenda item.
Okay, thank you. Well, given the current state of the property, the diligent efforts that you undertook to try and get the property owner and track down the property addresses for notification and just what it looks like today. I agree with your assessment of the property, and therefore I'm going to approve your application for a 180-day open abatement contained in CE 225002. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer.
This brings us to agenda item number 3. This is a request for approval to abate public nuisance items at the Brunson property. This property is located at 1108 East Alameda Drive. The applicant is the City of Tempe Code Compliance, represented this afternoon by Melissa Ensing. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Officer. My name is Melissa Ensing. I'm a Code Compliance Inspector with the City of Tempe Code Compliance Division. I'm here this evening to request a 100-day open abatement for the property located at 1108 East Alameda Drive, Tempe. On July 29, 2022, the City of Tempe Code Compliance received a complaint for junk, trash, debris. I inspected the property and found junk, trash, debris, boxes, furniture, wood, clothes, buckets, cords, storage containers, and additional miscellaneous items in the front, side, and rear yards. Sorry. As well as in the driveway, carport, and an open trailer in the driveway. The carport opening had a tarp hanging open, allowing all the miscellaneous items being stored in the carport to be viewable from the public right-of-way. I also observed deteriorated landscaping in the front and rear yards. This case has received 11 public complaints. I have sent 4 notices to the property owner. I've had contact with the owner several times, in person and over the phone.
And what has that dialogue been like? What do they say?
Each time they said that they'd bring the property into compliance. They've gone back and forth, and the husband collects items, but both of them have said that they're trying to correct the violations, and it just hasn't been corrected over the 6 months.
Okay.
I issued 2 civil citations for this property for deteriorated landscape and trash and debris. The owner has been held responsible for both civil citations. At this time, I'd like to present photos taken today of the existing violations.
Okay, thank you.
All right. This is a picture showing the trailer in the driveway. There's items in that trailer, as well as the carport. You can see the opening right here where you can see all the miscellaneous items being stored. Each time I've gone, the tarp has been open most of the time, and it's, as you can tell, there's a lot of items just being stacked up.
Right.
In this view, it's another view of the driveway. The items go all the way back to the rear yard fence, and there's clothes and boxes, containers, just different miscellaneous items laying on the driveway. Here's a clearer view of the angle from the public right-of-way. As you can see, the boxes and crates. I believe there's furniture in there, a screen, just various items.
Right.
This is on the west side of the property, just a couple containers and buckets being stored there. This is the west side of the rear yard. They do have a shed with items in it. There's a tarp covering miscellaneous items. There's what looks like a shelving unit and cardboard boxes. Another angle of the overview of the rear yard. You can see just different areas, and there's trailers back there as well.
Sure.
And then this last picture is just a closer view of the east side of the rear yard, and you can see all the way to the driveway. So that's viewable from the alley as well as the front street.
So if anything, it's just gotten worse than the photographs that I was given in the packet, which were dated, I think, in late December, early January.
I would say it's still in violation. I've seen a couple of things that have been removed, but overall, there's items everywhere that need to be, continue to be removed.
Sure, sure.
So as stated before, I am seeking a 100-day open abatement for trash and debris located at 1108 East Alameda Drive. Thank you.
Thank you. And to clarify, it's 180 days, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Yoakum, is there anyone here this afternoon or in the chamber wanting to talk about agenda item number 3?
No, Madam Hearing Officer.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Inspector Ensing. I appreciate the photographs that you took this morning, and definitely agree with your assessment that the property needs to be abated. You know, I know that you've had dialogue with the property owner, but they've said they're going to do one thing and done another. So I am going to go ahead and grant your 180-day open abatement request contained in CE 224415. Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4 is a request for approval to abate public nuisance items at the Thompson property. This property is located at 3530 South Kachina Drive. The applicant is the City of Tempe, represented again by Inspector Melissa Ensing.
Thank you again, Madam Hearing Officer. As stated before, I am Melissa Ensing, a Code Compliance Inspector with the City of Tempe Code Compliance Division. I'm here this evening to request a 180-day open abatement for the property located at 3530 South Kachina Drive. This case was initiated on July 25th, 2022 for inoperable unregistered vehicle in the driveway. This case has received 1 public complaint. I have sent 3 notices to the property owner along with the notice posted to the property. I've had contact with the owner several times. I issued 1 citation for this property for unregistered vehicle. The owner failed to appear for the civil citation, and the citation has now gone to collections. At this time, I would like to present photos taken today of the existing violation.
Thank you.
In this picture, it shows the unregistered vehicle. It doesn't have to appear to have been moved. It's been in this position every time I've gone out there.
Is it operable? Like, are the tires inflated or?
Yes, ma'am. The owner said she's had someone drive it. She just hasn't registered it.
Okay,
And hasn't, as of today, it has not been registered. And there's the showing that it's expired. As stated before, I'm seeking a 100-day open abatement for the unregistered vehicle located at 3530 South Kachina Drive, Tempe.
okay. Thank you. I noted that tag is from 2021, so it's already over a year since it's been registered, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Yoakum, any member of the public or the property owner wanting to speak on this item?
No, Madam Hearing Officer.
Okay, thank you. Well, I agree with your assessment. This one's real straightforward. You can't have unregistered vehicles on your property, especially for that duration. You know, a month or 2 is not going to be a big deal, but over a year, that's just kind of a pretty blatant violation of the code. I do want to note that since this is 180-day, if the car is towed away and then they would come and get it but not register it, it could be towed again several consecutive times within 180 days. Mr. Yoakum, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if the property owner will pay attention to this hearing, but I just wanted to make that clear. So given the photograph from this morning. The vehicle is still unregistered. I'm going to go ahead and approve your 180-day open abatement request contained in CE 224335. Thank you and have a good night.
Thank you, too.
This brings us to agenda item number 5. This is a request to abate public nuisance items at the Jordan property located at 1930 East Minton Drive. The applicant is the City of Tempe, represented this afternoon by Code Compliance Inspector Julie Schofield. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Madam Hearing Officer, Senior Code Inspector Julie Schofield. I'm here today to ask for a 180-day open abatement for the property located at 1930 East Minton Drive, which is in Tempe. The initial complaint came to us in October of 22 for having various items in the front and backyard, lawn parking, junk trash debris, grass and weeds and gravel, inoperable unregistered vehicles. At the time, we had a code inspector. His name was Cody Ois. He went to the property on October 18th of 2022, and at that time, he had sent a notice to the property owner for lawn parking, junk trash and debris in the front and backyard, zoning codes regarding setback items, and also grass and weeds in the gravel. Inspector Cody Ois went back to the property on November 1st of 2022 and noticed that there had been no change to the items in the front and the backyard, lawn parking or grass and weeds and gravel, and at that time he mailed a final notice for those items. He actually left the city and I went ahead and took over this case. I physically went to the property on November 17th of 2022 and did notice a large amount of items being stored in the front and backyard. There was lawn parking, there was issues with the landscaping with like grass and weeds in the gravel. I gave them until, excuse me, the end of December. I made it back to the property on December 5th of 2022, and at this point, he had been issued 3 notices for junk, trash, and debris. And I went ahead and issued a citation for the junk, trash, and debris in the front and backyard. Pictures were taken at the time. The citation has since then gone to collections. I am working on this property for other various violations that are not abatable, including trailers in the setback and building structures and whatnot. But I did make it back to the property on December 21st and issued that final notice for unregistered vehicle that the property owner brought back to the property that wasn't there when I had looked at it in November. So at this time, I'd like to show you the pictures of the property, and they will include front and backyard.
Thank you.
I'll just leave that up there. So this is the property in question. He has a lot of things going on, and it seems to be like he's trying to make some improvements, but in the meantime, he's got a lot of items that shouldn't be out in the front or backyard of the property, and you could see items that you wouldn't typically use to make your property better. There's a lot of random miscellaneous items being stored in the front here. I'm not even sure what some of these items are, but they've been out there for months. And a lot of it is like furniture, miscellaneous items, household items, trash, and you'll see that in the pictures coming up. This is the vehicle that is unregistered. I do have the plate, and he just recently put a car cover on it. I was there Friday, no car cover. Today there's a car cover, but I do have the plate to run if it is still indeed unregistered. But as you can see, there's still some more items in the front here. Appliances, couches, furniture. And then as far as the landscaping, this is the gravel area. And this needs to be maintained free of grass and weeds. So that's the landscaping portion of it. The backyard is going to be a lot more items, as you'll see, a lot of wood, household items, clothing, containers, appliances, you name it. There's a lot of miscellaneous items. I don't know what it is, but you'll see cabinets back here, some tarps. And you see all the paint cans and household items, containers, pallets. Here he has dining room chairs. And like I said earlier, I am dealing with the building structures, so, but those are not abatable.
So when you go in, you cannot remove that unpermitted structure that he's erected?
I will not be able to remove all the structures because a lot of them are wood, and a lot of them I can't see up close from the backyard fence line. But if there's something that I can remove, then I will ask to be able to remove it. But
Okay.
as you can see, there's still, there's couches back here and trash and a lot of wood and the pallets.
Okay. Yeah, when I was reviewing the photographs, I made notes to myself, unpermitted structures within, the building setbacks, which is something I believe that is a separate issue, but nevertheless needs to be addressed at some point.
That is correct. In fact, I am in the process of issuing multiple citations for the building structures itself. And then if need be, we will take it further with the case. But for today, I would like to ask for that 180 days open abatement for the grass and weeds and the gravel, the unregistered vehicles, and also the junk, trash, and debris in the front and backyard.
Okay, thank you. I do want to note for the record that I did receive a comment from a member of the public. I'm not going to read it into the record, but it was provided to me by city staff. So I just wanted to make that note that it was a neighbor who is highly interested in seeing this be resolved and this property cleaned up. So just wanted to note that for the record. Mr. Yocum, is there any member of the public or the property owner that you're aware of that you would like to speak on this agenda item?
Yes, Madam Hearing Officer, we have one member of the public who would like to speak on this agenda item. Lori Morehouse, if you have the ability, could you please approach the podium? Thank you. And Lori, you'll have about 3 minutes.
Okay,
I'll
I
monitor.
probably won't take 3 minutes.
It's okay. I'll monitor the time. I'll let you know if you get
Okay,
to that point. If you could
right.
just begin by letting us know your name and the city that you reside in.
Yes. My name is Lori Morehouse, and I live at 1919 East Minton Drive, which is across the street and 2 houses down from the Jordan property. And I have pictures from March of 2022. However, they're on my phone, so I don't know that I'm capable of showing them to you today. And I cannot speak to anything that goes on in the backyard, as I don't have access to view that. But in the front, it was like an overnight thing that happened. And all of a sudden, there was trash and belongings and cars. And I took a picture as I was leaving today. And there is a trailer out in the front on the street with, it's like an open trailer. And I think it has tiles in it, on it. And it's been there for weeks. It's been certainly back into December. And it's been in the same spot for weeks. And I happen to know that there are roof rats in our neighborhood, and this mess that is there, if you give a roof rat a place to have babies, they'll have them, and I'm sure that they're having them in somewhere in that situation. So I regard that as an unhealthy situation. And I have lived in the neighborhood for 39 years, and have never seen anything like this on my street, and I certainly would like to see it cleaned up and brought back to the peaceful, quiet, pretty street that it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your input this afternoon. Thank you. You can go
Okay,
ahead and
all right.
sit back down. I appreciate it. yeah, this property is in dire need of remediation. And since the property seems unwilling, or property owner seems unwilling or unable to do it, then it certainly is the city's role to step in situations like this and remediate the problem for, as Ms. Morehouse suggests, public health and safety issues. So I am going to, Ms. Schofield, approve your 180-day open abatement request contained in application CE 226242. Thank you, Ms. Schofield. Thank you also, Ms. Morehouse, for coming this afternoon. Your input is very valuable.
Thank you, hearing officer.
You're welcome. Mr. Yocum, do we have any announcements this afternoon?
Yes, Madam Hearing Officer, just the one. Our next scheduled hearing officer meeting is set for Tuesday, February 21st. That'll be at 5 p.m. here in the Tempe City Council chambers, as well as live on Tempe 11.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I appreciate everyone's flexibility in putting this hearing together virtually. But that concludes our agenda this afternoon, so we are adjourned. Thank you and have a good night.